Hey, a friend, Chris here from LogicProRules.com, the website that helps you get the most you can out of Apple's Logic Pro. Today, I have the very special privilege of sharing with you a brand new product, or I should say an update to a product that I love from my very good friends at IK Multimedia. And what I'm referring to is that a version 2 of the awesome, very popular iLoud MTM speakers. In fact, let me show you the box. Check it out. Mark II of the iLoud MTMs. I love these speakers so much. If you saw my series from last year, all about getting started with Atmos and Logic Pro, you know that IK supported that series by sending along on loan a boatload of their awesome iLoud MTM version 1 speakers. And I have fallen in love with these speakers so hard that they've been here in my studio ever since. But with version 2, a lot's been updated. The speaker themselves, the built-in technology, the arc correction, and included software. So there's a lot to dig through. Let's dig into it. First, let me start out by saying that IK sent along the iLoud MTM Mark IIs free of charge to me. There was no exchange of money between us. That doesn't imply a positive walkthrough or review, but I only talk about stuff I really like here on the channel, Why Logic Per Rules. So there you go. Taking a look inside the box, of course, you get the iLoud MTM Mark II speakers. And looking at the speakers themselves, it kind of looks like nothing's changed, right? Aside from a logo on the front face. You, of course, get the expected MTM design of the two mid-woofers above and below the tweeter. Well, here's the thing. This time around with the Mark IIs, the mid-woofers have been completely redesigned. The updated woofers provide more extension and definition for the low end, plus more clarity and articulation in the mid-range. After that is a stand to mount the speakers vertically, plus a screw to mount the stand to the speaker itself, or you can use the included flat base to place the speaker horizontally on any surface. Of course, there's an included power cable for the active speakers. There's a USB cable for each speaker, which this time around is not just for firmware updates, but allows you to tap into IK's X Monitor application. Each set of speakers comes with one MEMS microphone and a cable that you use to connect the microphone to each speaker, so you can run the embedded arc correction process so you can tune each iLoud MTM to your space. And something I truly love about the iLoud MTMs is that you can mount these speakers to something as simple as a microphone stand, thanks to the threading underneath the speaker. The threading on the bottom of the speaker is for 3/8 of an inch, so you may need an adapter to go from 3/8 to 5/8 of an inch. But if you don't want to have to go out and buy expensive speaker stands, well, you can just buy a couple of microphone stands. You probably have some laying around. There you go. You spend 40 or 50 bucks and you're good to go. Taking a look at the back of the iLoud MTM Mark IIs, pretty much looks exactly the same as the Mark Is. Of course, there are DSP controls for each speaker. Starting on the left-hand side is the low-frequency extension control, which is basically a high-pass filter, which can be set as low as 40 Hz or as high as 80 Hz. So if you want to get more low-end out of the iLouds, you would set it lower at 40 Hz. The option for 80 Hz is perfect for those of us who are using bass management, let's say a multi-channel setup, or if you'll be integrating a subwoofer with the iLoud MTMs. To the right is a low-frequency shelf that can be boosted or reduced for everything 100 Hz and below. To the right of the low-frequency shelf is a high-frequency shelf, which can be, again, boosted or reduced for everything 8,000 Hz and above. To the right of that is the calibration button, with which you'll use to either run the arc correction process for each speaker, or you can set each speaker to not be corrected, so flat, or you can set each speaker to desk mode if you're going to be placing the iLoud MTM Mark IIs onto a desktop. Desk mode will tune the iLoud MTMs to deal with the very negative impact of the sound bouncing off your desk, which can totally color what you think you're hearing from the speakers and impact your creative work as a result. To the right of calibration is the sensitivity button, with which you can adapt to either if you're working with an audio interface and professional gear or consumer gear. Most of us are going to be connecting the iLoud MTMs to an audio interface, so you can just leave this set at +4 dBu. Then comes the volume control. With the MTM Mark IIs, there's increased SPL and throw for each speaker. Instead of the volume control topping out all the way to the right, we have 6 more decibels above 0. Then, of course, is the input for the MEMS microphone to conduct the arc correction process for each speaker, followed by a USB port to connect each speaker to your computer, which allows you to update the firmware, plus take advantage of the awesome X Monitor application, which we'll dig into momentarily. Now, here's the thing with the iLoud MTM Mark IIs is that the onboard processing power has nearly doubled. Instead of running internally at 48 kHz like version 1 did, these run at 96 kHz internally. And the entire DSP processing is running at a higher precision for more transparency, more resolution, plus the ARC technology built in has been upgraded and has been derived from the flagship Precision line of speakers. The arc correction process can be conducted by plugging that microphone to the speaker and then pressing and holding on the calibration button as you could with version 1, but it's a little different this time around. It's in fact been upgraded to 4 measurements per speaker, just like the Precision line. So you might instead want to use the X-Monitor application to tune the iLoud MTM Mark IIs. X-Monitor, an application introduced a couple years ago with the Precision line of speakers from IK. You have tremendous control over each speaker without having to reach behind your desk each and every time you want to make an adjustment. With Contour, you can tune the speakers for various placements in your room. You can choose from various preset modes or manually adapt the tuning yourself. Notice the shelves for low and high frequencies provide much greater depth in both directions, boosting and cutting. The desk mode for those desk reflections can be customized. There's even a midband that you can tune. But what I love about X-Monitor is that you can run the entire arc correction process from your computer, which allows you to see where you should be placing the MEMS microphone to tune each speaker appropriately. To begin the process, just click on the calibration button for one of the speakers in the X-Monitor app. From there, X-Monitor will guide you for where to place the MEMS microphone in relation to the listening position. There are 4 spots to place the MEMS microphone, starting with position number 1. With the MEMS microphone in the correct position, just press the capture point button on screen, then try to get as far away as you can from the listening position. The speaker will blink several times to let you know that the process is going to begin. A test tone will be played. The MEMS microphone will capture it, send it back to the speaker. Once complete, you just repeat the process for positions 2, 3, and 4. But do note, you have to plug the MEMS microphone into each speaker individually to conduct each individual calibration process. As long as the iLoud MTMs are connected to your computer, you can see both a before and after frequency analysis of the speakers in your space. The before results obviously being the untuned version of your speaker, just how it sounds in your space as is. The after results being what ARC has done to tune the speakers to your space. There's delay compensation for each speaker up to 10 milliseconds, but now you can tap into the different voicings of many different speakers and playback systems with the iLoud MTM Mark IIs, which includes 15 different studio speaker models, 3 hi-fi speaker models, and 3 different multimedia models, such as a TV or a Bluetooth speaker or a smartphone. These voicings, plus controls to either dim the speakers, mute them, or toggle the arc correction for the speakers on or off, can be assigned to 4 different remote buttons on screen. And what's really handy is that you can actually reduce the size of X-Monitor to just that control section, so you can control the different voicings, the different options for the speakers, without X-Monitor taking up all of your screen real estate. I personally love the smartphone voicing of X-Monitor because when I work on a project, I often will bounce the project out as a stereo file and send it to my iPhone to take a listen, so I have a different perspective on my project and mix. And this just cuts out the middleman completely. Instead, you just press a button on screen and the speakers transform like a chameleon into sounding like a smartphone. Of course, the $800 question here is how much better really are the Mark IIs as compared to the Mark I iLoud MTMs? Well, to compare, I decided let me set up just one Mark II side by side with one Mark I, and then use a free plugin from developer HitShaper to mono entire mixes, entire projects, but not just between 2 speakers, but you can actually mono an entire project and pan it, the entire mix, to the left or to the right, and just flip between using just a couple buttons. I thought this was a much more apples to apples comparison. So that's what I did. I listened to the included demo projects I was working on, the live loop grids in Logic Pro, and just listened and compared. And in my opinion, the Mark IIs sound more open. They sound less congested. I mean, I love the Mark Is, don't get me wrong. And I'm not suggesting necessarily that you got to run out and just flip your speakers if you're happy with the Mark Is. But it's pretty obvious that there's more clarity, there's more just space for the low end, the mids, for everything to just exist. Additionally, the horizontal dispersion of the MTMs has been improved upon. So there's a way wider sweet spot for you to exist in. You don't have to live with your head in a vice. You can move your head a little to the left or to the right. You're going to be okay. Plus, the X-Monitor application just brings so much to the workflow. The different speaker voicings, the different controls for mute or dim or toggle arc on and off, the contour controls to really tune the speakers the way you like to hear them. There's so much here in this package. And again, these speakers sound more open as compared to the version 1, more detail, more just space for everything to exist. Pack so much bass still in these speakers. They have tons of bass. It's crazy for their size. Through and through, I stand behind IK speakers. I purchased a pair of the Precision MTMs, the flagship ones. I love them. I have the iLoud MTMs all around me for Atmos. Love them. And this second generation, the Mark IIs of the iLoud MTMs, they sound awesome. If I were starting out today, not even as a beginner, just someone who needs speakers right now on a budget, I don't think you can do better than the iLoud MTM Mark IIs. So I'm just putting it out there. With that, I'll include links down below to IK's website so you can learn more all about this brand new version of the iLoud MTMs. And hopefully this video was helpful for you. If it was, please subscribe to Wide Logic Pro Rules here on the channel or on the website. And always check the description down below because I include links to PDFs, guides, templates to help you in your journey with Logic Pro. Thanks so much. Take care.